everyone. We are here today to help you all answer one very important question. Should you purchase Anthem? I hope to give you the info that will help you be an informed buyer. So, we are going to start this train off on a pretty sour note, actually. If you are not a fan of microtransactions or the whole just paid game has transactions in it fiasco, this game is going to piss you off. Not only do they have a pretty expensive monetary system, all things considered, they have 4 different methods of you to find a spot to pay for their microtransactions. You can access it from your menu, so just going into the normal menu, you can get to the store. They then have 3 store kiosks, 2 which are right next to each other, spread throughout the game. They want you to pay money, and they want you to be within easy access of whatever form you want to pay that money in. So just keep that in mind going in. Next up, we're going to talk about gameplay and graphics, starting with graphics. I was impressed with how good a lot of the parts of this game looked for how when you're out in the open world, how little there is that is actually like being loaded at any given time. It uses a surprisingly little amount of loading screens in between actual like areas. There's a couple when you're going into caves and stuff, they don't have those rendered. But all things considered, with how much you're flying around and how much it's constantly having to load in, the game looks pretty good. I was actually really impressed coming from the alpha and the demo, where I had a lot of graphical glitches, a bunch. I didn't hit any in over 12 hours of play. Your mileage might vary on that, obviously, but I had really smooth frame rates the whole time, no graphical glitches, which again, for how much you're having to load when you're flying around and how much is going on when you're in the middle of combat, I was really shocked. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. They did a really good job on whatever rendering process they used for this. On the gameplay side, gunplay is super lackluster. Guns just aren't fun to use in this game, and they range from mildly annoying to use to actually feeling kind of awful. So if you are here for a good feeling shooter and all you want is to fire the gun and for that gun to feel good, this is not the game for you. However, the javelins are really fun to use, and if you're not too concerned about the gunplay as a whole, most of the javelins, aside from the ranger, are just fun. They are really well designed. All of them completely fill the role that they are meant to, and those roles feel vastly different from each other. I mean, again, the only javelin that really suffers at all in this area is the ranger, because the ranger javelin just feels like a generic soldier shooting man, whereas the other 3 got very special, unique kits that all feel amazing to use. So, if you just want to get in this game and run around free mode with your friends, and you just want to play with the javelins, that is where your money's worth in this game is, if you purchase it. It is not, unfortunately, in the story. At least mission-wise, are generic point defense. Scan this, hold this while I scan this. Fight off waves, and then fight off a big thing at the end of the wave. The story missions in this are the most generically designed things ever. It feels like we're back in Destiny 1 with your ghost scanning everything, or having to go here and fight off waves and waves of enemies. There's just nothing here, guys. Like, there's nothing redeemable about the mission design in this. Like I said, we are back to Destiny 1, and it needs to stop. This can't be how we design every mission in our game, around this trite process of draw out the content as long as humanly possible. Make fun content And essentially, no matter how long that content is, if it's good, people will come back to it. That's where you need to be finding your longevity, not in padding. It's beyond time that we stop this. And if anything is going to hurt this game the most, I feel it's going to be the mission design. It's just not good. Jumping off from there, the customization for your javelins is a double-edged sword in this game. You have really just a lot of customization when it comes to the color and like the color look of your javelin. They have a really well-designed coloring system in this game, which is really fun to play with. They have a really large preset of colors. They have a custom color wheel, which I was kind of shocked to see in this, but I appreciated having nonetheless. And the recent colors tab is something that most games don't use, and I really appreciated having, because it was really nice if I wanted like sections to be one color, I could just go through the recent colors, and it was nice. Coloring your javelin is really nice. Even the materials can lend you a level of customization that is appreciated. If it weren't for the fact that the actual armor part of the customization of this game, at least as far as I've played, and that's 12 hours in at this point, is complete trash. There are like non-existent amount of actual armor pieces for each javelin, so everybody's javelin has the same armor pieces, but it's just a different color, and they screwed the pooch heavily here. It almost renders the amazing color scheming completely obsolete in the worst ways possible, because if you have subpar coloring but a lot of armor diversity, you can at least look visually different from each other, even if you're the same color. But being different colors but all looking the same just feels worse in this somehow, especially since some of the javelins just don't have good looking some of the javelins just don't look good on their base skin. I don't care for the Interceptor's starting skin, but some of its buyable ones are pretty good. I also don't care for the Ranger's skins or his buyable ones, but that's because the Colossus and the Storm look so much more interesting. Which is unfortunate, because I feel like that's where a lot of their design went, was into the Storm and the Colossus, and the other two were like, ugh. The Interceptor works because its sleek design fits with what it's supposed to be, so they saved themselves there, but the Ranger is super disappointing. Now that is out of the way, let's talk about the characters and the story in the game. So, let's start off with the bad here. The story is generic and boring. It's a stereotypical past the point of being acceptable. It's painful almost at times, how predictable and how boring sitting through the story missions in this game is, when they're supposed to be what's driving you to completion. The main villain isn't super interesting at all. He's a big, overpowered guy, because we've never seen that before. And he's special, because we also have never seen that before. Now, I would really love in one of these to see a villain who is just bad, but unbelievably bad at everything that he does, but just luck is not on anyone else's side, and so as people try and stop him, they just fuck up horribly, and he doesn't do anything to really put blockades up in their path, because I'm just so sick of seeing this massively overpowered dude who's just inexplicably stopped at the end. I don't know. On the character side, however, I think the game fares a lot better. I really liked a lot of the characters in here, even if I didn't necessarily like their voice actors, which the voice acting in here is sometimes okay and is sometimes really bad. There's not much of a middle ground, and there's really not much of an extreme on the good side. There's some extremes on the bad side that I thought were really cringeworthy. A particular NPC later has a really just gangstery, edgy, going for voice, and it does not pay off whatsoever. It's funny and cringy and awful.
A rare delicacy I have been saving for a special occasion.
After you, princess.
I could not dishonor myself by eating while my guests go hungry.
They do a good job with a lot of the personalities of the characters are all land where I feel like they wanted them to. Like, the actors that they got, for the most part, bring across the personalities that they're supposed to. None more amazing than whoever voiced Lucky Jack. That man really sells Lucky Jack's personality to an amazing extent, and I'm really happy that I get to talk to that character on a near. He is my first stop every time I'm back in Fort Tarsis, which is the next part of this unfortunate tale. Fort Tarsis, the land of our story, where all of our story takes place in this otherwise multiplayer game, is awful, terrible, boring. I don't know how we made it through an alpha and a demo and they didn't add a sprint function inside Fort Tarsis, so you don't have to walk across that place. Granted, it's not very big, true. Still, I don't like walking anywhere in video games ever because it's slow, and that's not what I'm there to do. So, it's essentially bad by proxy to the fact that it doesn't have a sprint function inside Fort Tarsis. Now, something that they did do is they added a secondary staging area called the launch bay, where you can do most of your endgame like contracts, your alliance stuff. You can access the forge. You can go on expeditions. It's where the fourth store of the game for microtransactions is located, which is hilarious and depressing to me simultaneously. And you can access the vault in there. So it's in this side area where you're in your javelin the whole time. So it's actually the best part to do it from, but you can't get your missions in there. So they give you this great spot to do stuff from, but you have to go out into Fort Tarsis for like 30 minutes to go collect everything because you're walking, which could easily be done in like 5 or 10. And then you just go to the launch bay and you just do all your missions, and then you go back, and it's awful. So to wrap this whole video up, do I recommend Anthem? I do not. At this stage with the game, I think you're better off holding onto your money and spending it on essentially almost anything else that's either come out or will be coming out in the next month or two. It just doesn't bring enough to the table. It gets so much wrong. And it really feels like the fun that I have is in spite of the game, not because of it. So I would have a hard time recommending this game as a full-blown purchase to anybody. Wait till it goes on sale for $40 or $30, then it might be a good pickup. Or if you want to just go get it from Redbox to try it out, that is, I mean, if you just want to run it, by all means, that is also a perfectly good option. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.